Let's talk about Joan and week 2 in the house. I thought this was a pretty good episode. I liked it. It was sort of reminded me of why we liked Golden Bachelor last year. The same kind of like fun, some elderly person hijinks, a toast to Medicare. That was pretty funny.
I also thought it was a really good episode. I'm still struggling with the names.
Yeah,
and
me too.
There was
tough.
a few times where I would watch her in conversation with someone and I'd be like thinking of names. And then I was like, Jack, maybe? And then they would show the interview and I'd see the name and I'd be like, okay, good. Why can't you have that name all the time?
All the time. I know. It was such a good part of Mormon Wives. And also Love is Blind does it a lot too. I need the name all the time. Jack is the one who got the first impression rose last week, right? I think that was him.
Jack is the one that went home tonight.
Oh.
Cannonballs.
Right. He was the cook. Yeah, see, I still need it because I can't remember the name of the guy who got the one-on-one last week, even though I know he is still here. But it was a good overall episode, even if I can't tell everyone apart. One piece of feedback I've gotten from last week's pod, many people agree. They think everyone looks like Captain Lee. It's just like a whole bunch of Captain Lees.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad we're not the only ones because for episode 1, I felt like my head was like all over the place trying to figure out these names. It was
Jay
less
says it
like
was
that
Keith
today.
Who went home? Keith, who got the one-on-one last week.
Yeah.
Copy.
No,
Thank you, Jade.
Keith, who got first impression rose.
Yeah, sorry. Keith got the first impression rose. Sorry. I can't keep anything straight. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think eventually when they're down to like 10, we should be good.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start with the first group date when they went to prom. I thought this was just a great idea. A low budget date just like really hits sometimes when it's clearly low budget. I loved all the decorations. I thought it was really funny that someone was spiking the punch. I was like, are they really pouring alcohol in there? They poured a lot in too. So if you're not ready for that, be careful, people. Overall, I thought it was like pretty fun. Taylor Dayne, are you familiar with her?
I knew the song, but no.
Tell it to my heart.
Also, yeah. The other problem with Bachelor franchise performances in general is that 99% of the time you don't know who they are and they're just like a random person and they make the people pretend that they know who they are. I don't know if they do make them, but I'm assuming they make them. But
the random country acts, they definitely make them do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when, I don't even know which guy it was, but when the guy was like, Taylor Dayne, oh my gosh, I was like, wow, they're making the seniors pretend too. And then she started singing and I was like, oh no, they know who she is.
Yeah, they know her. They know Taylor Dayne. And then that one guy went on a date with her. Yeah. Jordan.
Yeah. Also
That's
him
crazy.
asking her if she remembered him and she said, yeah. I was like, probably not Jordan.
I'm sure she just said yes, but she doesn't actually remember you. We got a lot of fun dancing. Who did you think was the best dancer? Anyone stand out for you?
Couldn't tell you.
No. They all just went for it. I liked it.
But I liked that they all were having fun.
Yeah. These guys don't seem to have a lot of self-consciousness. I'm pretty into it. Some of them have like real egos. We'll get to them. But I didn't feel like this prom date had many egomaniacs, if any.
No, I absolutely love the prom date. Don't even care that it was low budget.
No, I liked it. It's like more fun.
And it seemed like all the guys were like really like genuinely into it. Like having a good time. And the ones who went to prom were like, oh, this is like bringing back the best memories. And the ones that didn't go to prom, like I was really happy that they got to enjoy like a prom.
I know, that was sweet. I think you're referring to Jonathan. And
obviously I love Jonathan.
He was one of a few. I think also Charles L. said he didn't go to prom as well.
I don't know if you listened to Morally Corrupt on Fridays. It's on the Ringer reality feed. For those of you who don't know, please tune in. We did a 5-minute session on Jonathan.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Rachel said that she doesn't think Jonathan gets picked and that she is available to be picked.
Oh,
by Jonathan.
Wow. Love it. Yeah. Did Rachel watch Golden Bachelorette?
No.
Okay.
She just like saw some stuff.
I was going to be shocked.
She saw a ton of people like talking about Jonathan. So she like looked him up and was like, I'd go on a date with him today.
I love that for Rachel. Let's make that happen. That's a great idea. I love it. Let's get Rachel on a date with Jonathan. I agree he's not picked, but I think he's like the winner of the season. He clearly has the most personality. He's super charming. He seems really comfortable with himself at this stage. He looks incredibly young, so that's awesome for him.
Incredibly young. I also feel like he talks about his feelings in such a great way.
Totally. He's like kind of like direct with them in a way where I feel like he's already processed them. So he's not uncomfortable sharing. He's just like, yeah, I didn't go to prom. So he tells the story about how he went to a Catholic school where he was the only person of color. And then he was asked a girl to prom. And then a few days before, she said yes. Then a few days before, she backed out. Is the implication that she backed out because he's a person of color?
I assume, based on how he told the story, and probably based on history, because imagine this was something that was happening 50 years ago.
Yes, and he lives
40 years ago.
Indiana.
And in Indiana, like
Oakland, Indiana is his hometown right now.
I'm assuming that her parents probably told her she couldn't. That's what I assumed.
Interesting. That's really sad, and that sucks. But he shared the story in a way that suggested to me he had processed that experience, and he's okay. So that's good news. But yeah, I thought it was
he's clearly okay. He looks great, but
I would say he's thriving. He's the star of this show, in my opinion, so far.
Well, I think he's the star of this show. He is not trying to be at all. That's what I like.
That's why he's the star.
Him. Yeah, because like even at the pool party, I liked how he was kind of just like, you could tell he was like, I have a rose. Like, you guys have your conversations. I'm not gonna like try to like win this pool party.
He does exactly what you're like supposed to do, which is like back off when you have a rose and like when you've had
when you're confident in your situation.
So I was gonna say he's like clearly so confident in what happened, like in like his interactions with Joan and just in himself. And he's like, yeah, for those of you who need the time, you got it. And then also he was definitely egging on Jack the cannonballer. But that just suggested to me he wanted to have fun.
I'm not gonna take time away from you guys, but I am gonna have a good time.
Yeah, which is great. And that's like what you want to have around, right? Like he's almost like when he takes a step back from Joan because he has a rose, he becomes like the ultimate glue guy in the house because he's like, I'm still gonna have fun. I don't need one person's attention to do that.
Also, Juliet's number one, I don't know, like green flag is when other people like you. And the house clearly likes him.
Yeah, he rules. Jonathan is the winner of this season. I can't say I want him to be a Golden Bachelor because I want him to go out with Rachel. So,
but he's probably going to be Golden Bachelor.
Yeah, I think so. Let's talk about Chalk, the guy who was on the Disney date. Chalk, on his picture online, looks way older than he does on the show, so he should complain.
Well, I have a complaint too. The pictures online aren't great. Like, it's still hard to match person to person. But
agreed. Chalk reminds me of Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. The like bad guy. You haven't seen Happy Gilmore?
Of course, I've seen it. I have brothers, but like I can't do that.
He's also in Hacks. Have you been watching Hacks?
I have watched Hacks, but
just Google Shooter McGavin. Seasons. He reminds me of him, and as a result, I'm like, is this guy a villain? I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with Chalk.
I liked him on the Disney date.
He seemed okay. He's played by his actor's name is Christopher McDonald. You definitely know his face. He's been in so many things. I
absolutely know who this is.
Yeah. Shooter McGavin is iconic. I think they're making Happy Gilmore 2 right now, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I love Adam Sandler. I support it. The Sandman.
I like Adam Sandler too. I like Chalk on the date. I like that he was able to like lighten up a bit.
He seems really full of himself. He's the biggest egomaniac to me.
Chalk?
Yeah.
More than Pascal.
Pascal just seems like selfish. He doesn't seem like an egomaniac. Chalk, I think, thinks really highly of himself.
You know what also I was thinking throughout this? This is who these people are. You're not changing a 60-year-old man's like anything.
Definitely. I mean, I thought that, this is like a little bit more dire, so it's not exactly the same. But when I think it was Dan who won the talent show, when he opened up about all of his health stuff and he was like, listen, I understand some people don't want to sign up for this. That was the realest shit there is, to quote David from The Real World. That
made me like him more.
Me too. I thought that was like honestly considerate and like sort of very like self-aware and just like sure of who he is. And like, he's like, yeah, I have health issues. And I thought she handled it really well. I have to say, I quite like her. I've liked her this whole episode.
I really like her.
She seems like a lovely, like non-judgmental person.
I told you last episode that I was like, she seems like someone you like want to be happy. Like it's really easy for me to like buy into wanting her to find happiness, which is, it's good for the show because I don't always feel that about the leads of The Bachelor and Bachelorette. Also, I got to stop doing this, but the entire show, I compare this to the regular Bachelor, Bachelorette the entire time. I'm like, he told her his health issues. When does that happen for Bachelor, Bachelorette? Like I do it all the time. And the only thing I could think of was when the girls tell the guy, like if they have like some sort of like, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't like, this is like the end of my life. It was more like, this is what I live with. Do you want to live with it too? It's not like, it is, I mean, you know, to be fair, Lexi's endometriosis story, she clearly was like in the thick of it and like experiencing pain. And also I think still like thinking about her own fertility. And so I think it's like, you know, different life phase. But once you get past the stories of people's like like all of like the loss they've incurred, it's like a lot less trauma porn. There's not a lot of like, this is how bad my life is. Like, and I'm like, that's my whole storyline. Like it kind of, it's like the opening line is like, I am single because, and a lot of the time it's like because my spouse died or the love of my life died. But then once you get past that, it's just sort of like a lot of people just like kind of like looking for a companion. I don't know. It's like, it's more fun to watch. Okay. And the second group date was the talent show, which we kind of alluded to with Dan. I keep thinking his name is Ken. I just can't keep them straight. He did the streamers because of he has a tremor. Very smart. Clearly knows himself. He seemed like a sweet guy. Biggest bomb of the show was definitely Captain Lee, aka Kim, who wrote the song that he then sang a cappella. That didn't land for me.
Didn't land for most people. Both dates, not very expensive. Both dates, entertaining to me.
Yeah. I enjoyed both dates too. I like seeing what they were going to come up with.
Something like this is so much better than like the strip show. I'm doing it again. Can't stop myself. But the strip tease they made Jen's guys do.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Just so no thanks. This is way better.
A way for Joan to like kind of get to know the guys a little bit throughout the date because she still has a lot of guys left.
She really does, yeah.
Yeah. Although she seems to feel like she's getting to know them, like
I think she
quickly.
seems like she seems to be able to connect with people.
Yeah, at the barbecue, she was like, "It's only been a week, and I feel like I know you guys so much better."
Definitely. Also with the talent show, just like we got to know those guys. Like now I can like tell you some identifying moments about a lot of them. Like I had not thought about Dan at all. I don't think I could have picked him out before. And now he like has a storyline. So that's helpful.